idea we had way back come to life, and you did it. And if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't be about to publish the most remarkable study that's been undertaken in the village ever. And you were part of it. There aren't words enough to thank each one of you, but I'm going to try to do that if you'll bear with me.
The Village Human Resources Committee conducted a survey of Heritage Village residents in late September and early October. The survey was undertaken as part of a strategic workforce plan which the committee is working on that will run for a period of 5 years. The basic part of the plan is to develop the strategic workforce plan, and the goal of the plan is to ensure that services provided by the Heritage Village employees meet resident needs and are delivered in an efficient and cost-effective manner. The survey has been completed and 482 residents were interviewed. They were interviewed by a team of approximately 50 volunteers from all parts of the village, and they were face-to-face interviews. Now, the important part of the interview is that the people selected. Can I just stop there for a minute? Okay. All right.
All right.
There were 482 face-to-face interviews. A statistically proven method was used to select those interviewed, and that means that the completed survey would read the same, given an error margin of 3.5% if every village resident had been interviewed. The method of selection was very simple. There was a complete list of all the units and all the residents in the village, and names were selected by starting in the middle and counting down to every 6th name. Once we'd reached the end, which was where the Z's were, we went back to the middle and counted back up to where the A's were. Thus we selected a sample that represents the total feeling of the village, as I said before, within a margin of 3.5%. Now, the survey results are complete, and I think there are some highlights that I would like to go over with you. First of all, I know that most of us have heard a lot of complaints about the services and the work done by employees, but the survey indicates that there is a very high level of satisfaction. For example, in the survey, we asked people to list the billable and non-billable services that they had used within the past 12 months. And then we asked each resident person being interviewed was asked to rate the performance, their satisfaction level on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. On an average of the services listed in the survey, 57.2% rated their satisfaction level as a 5. If you combine the 4s and 5s, the percentage goes up to 77.6%. That's a pretty sound satisfaction indicator. Now, the purpose of the survey was to answer 3 basic questions. Who lives here? What services do they use? How do they feel about the services? Now, in looking at the results, here are some of the results that seem to jump out at you. And this, I think, is very important. 66.2% of the residents are women. That's approximately 2/3 of the residents in Heritage Village are women. And when you...
I'm sorry. That's very good. I just stopped you because I heard
Sure.
noise.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Come in. It's all right.
I didn't think you...
We just paused for a moment anyway.
So where was the camera?
The camera was in the barn.
Okay.
Yeah,
You didn't sign up?
there's nothing there.
Oh, brother. How are you?
Good.
You know Forrest.
Yeah, well, I don't think so. Hey,
Forrest.
how you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, we get a little mixed up with your names. He's a Forrest at the end and you're a Forrest at the beginning.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
The following fact seems to jump out when you look at the survey. 66.2% of the residents are women. That's just about 2/3. And when you break that figure down, you'll find that about almost 25% of the women who live in the village are widows. And this is a significant fact when you're talking about putting a plan together for delivery of services and satisfaction of it. Now, other questions on who lives here. 94.5% of the people who live here own their own units. 89.7% regularly read what used to be the weekly bulletin. 65.4% have internet access in their homes. Another 4.7% plan to get internet access. And again, this is a significant figure because it means that the delivery of information can go over the internet. And we never realized that there was that high a percentage of people with internet access. Now, in terms of income, and let me just make a point on the income. And during the interviews, the person doing the interview, at the end, there were 3 personal questions. The personal questions involved age, income, and marital status. The person doing the interviewing handed the questionnaire to the person being interviewed and asked them to fill those questions out. And then the person was also given an envelope and asked to seal the envelope, seal the questionnaire in the envelope. And we did this to make sure that there was absolute confidentiality in the conduct of the survey. Now, we found out as a result of this that 64% of the people who live in the village report incomes between $0 and $60,000, with 19.5% of that between $0 and $30,000. We found out that 50.5% of the people living in the village are 76 years or older. 29.5% are widowed, and as I said before, nearly 25% of the women living here are widows. Now, in terms of services, we found out that 46%, that's nearly half, at one time or another used the swimming pools. The gym is used by another 27.1%. 57% used the library, and a figure that really jumped out at us was that on safety and security. 73.9% called safety and security very important, and another 16.6% say it is important. There was also a question in here about how people felt about turning some of the services provided, security services provided here, over to the town of Southbury. 60.1% oppose that. We found out also that 41.9% have used the HV security for medical emergencies, and 76.9% oppose any reduction in services. Can we just halt there a minute?
Okay.
Just a minute. Here are just a few other statistics. We found out that on heritage activity services used in the last 12 months, that 17.4% used the New York City bus, and another 10.3% used the New York Theater bus. Planned bus tours are used by 29.2%, vacation tours by 7.8%. We also found out that people rate very highly the staffs that delivers these services. We found out, for example, that the resident service center staff 90.7% rate them as courteous at all times. And a couple of other statistics, we asked how people felt about paying for Heritage Village sponsored trips and activities with a credit card, and we found that 47.3% thought that would be a good idea. The percentage of those who would prefer to register for Heritage Village trips on the internet was at about 28.4%. And 19.7% are registered in one Heritage Village club, with 6% in 4 clubs. We found out also that 40.7% are not registered in any of the clubs. And all in all, the material that will be used in this survey, as I say, will go into the development of a strategic workforce plan, which is going to benefit all residents in the village because it will ensure the delivery of services effectively and in a cost-effective manner. Okay. All right, statistic on that. Yeah.
Cluster captains are volunteers, all of the cluster officers are all volunteers.
Yeah. No, we didn't have a question on that. As I say, our main purpose was to find out, we wanted to find out who lives here, the demographics. We wanted to find out what services. You understand, we're working on a workforce plan that involves the employees and residents.
Right.
So we wanted to find out what services, and then the other thing we wanted to find out was how they rated these services.
They sound good.
Yeah, no, I think most people are pretty well satisfied from everything that I've got
I
here.
was surprised with that, the security, where they don't want the Southbury security, they
Yeah.
want their own security.
They want their own, yeah, no.
Yeah, but
Safety and
All of those people that said that probably wanted a reduction in the security too, for save money.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah.
They
Yeah.
voted.
What surprises did you have?
Well, I was surprised at the number of people with internet access.
Yeah,
I didn't think it would be that high. That was a pretty high one. I realized that the ratio of men to women, the population, there were more women, but I didn't think it was that high. I mean, 2/3. I mean, that's a pretty powerful figure right there. That's a powerful
So
figure.
2 to 1 with men to women.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was surprised at that. I was surprised also, and I didn't get this on tape, but on our communication, that 89.7% of the people say they rely on the bulletin to get information about what's going on in the village.
Okay.
That's a pretty high figure. Channel 14 gets about 65.4% as a source of
That was
information.
pretty good.
Yeah, but there are a number of people, when you break that down, who, well, you ask them how they view Channel 14, and the highest percentage is occasionally and so forth. There's also
Most of them that were even on that survey there, probably most of them that say Channel 14 are looking at the scroll
yeah,
and not the focus programs. Probably.
right.